Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now let the stories begin. Well, you're in for a treat today. Man, is this going to be fun. Just already talking to you, Leslie, I am like, oh, why has it been so long since we've chatted? World, get ready. I feel like this is the epitome of the Celebration of You series because you're about to experience another incredible person in this world that has pursued not only her dreams, but making a difference in the lives of many. And Leslie Sbrocco, thank you, darling, for taking the time.
Thank you, Holly, for having me. I'm honored to be, close to you on stage. So let's just say virtual stage.
Ooh, I like that virtual stage. And I guess we should, in fairness, tell everybody we had the luxury of being able to serve and speak at an inaugural event a couple years ago, which was for women, of the vine, so women in the winemaking industry. And so I have to say that I got to sit in the audience and see you do this amazing thing on stage and with everybody. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to get to know you better. And then I get to know you, Leslie, and I'm like, can I just brag about you for a minute?
Flattery gets you everywhere, of course.
Well, darling, I would just like everyone to know. I mean, it is kind of sexy and cool. So, because you'll never hear Leslie, what I love about you, you'll never be the one to brag about yourself, but I get to do this for you. And that is, although you're this amazing author speaker, you do so much consulting, you're a television host, you are one of the top 100 most influential people in the American wine business. You have written books on wine for women. You're also, we'll talk a little bit about this. I'm excited to hear more about the book. You've got 2 new books you're working on. You're a regular guest on NBC's Today Show. And I just think that's so fun because it sounds like you always show up with a glass of wine. They can't wait to have you on.
They love to drink, those girls.
I know. I love it. I mean, it's endless, all the amazing things you do. And yet what I love the most is the moment I met you, till right now, you can hear it in your voice. There's a passion, there's an energy, and we are going to have to talk a little bit. Some of the stories you shared from stage, they were like hilarious, and I loved it. So I'm going to zip it. And will you tell everybody, just give us a little, what's latest in your world? What are you most passionate about right now? Tell us what's going on.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm really excited about a new project that I'm working on with my television station. I host a show called Check Please in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area. I live up in wine country in Sonoma. And we just finished our 11th season on air, knock on wood somewhere, everybody.
Yeah.
And we have won 3 Emmy Awards for the show, a James Beard. I will brag a little bit on that because it was a team that put this show together. And it's the #1 most popular show we've got on our TV station, KQED, PBS. And so it's a fantastic show where we have regular folks who love food, love drink, recommend restaurants, and then we have them sitting all in the studio, 3 of them sitting around a table with me as the host and just chatting about their experiences at the restaurant. We're drinking wine, of course, and it's really like sitting around the table and talking about food. And so it's one of those shows that everybody loves because they can relate to it. And so that's why for me, it's such a fun show to do, although my hips don't love it, actually. because my thighs and my hips don't love it because sometimes I have to eat at 3 restaurants in a night, so.
And isn't that a shame? It's just a shame.
I'm telling you, nobody feels sorry for me, I'll be honest with you. But it is, it's a terrifically fun show to do. And I just meet people all over all over California. And I've run into people in Seattle and New York, and they say, oh my God, I used to live in the Bay Area, or I live there, or I watch your show online because I love restaurants in San Francisco and Northern California. And so that's very rewarding. But what we were finding in the last couple of seasons was that a lot of folks, especially younger viewers, because my show spans the PBS divide between older viewers and younger viewers. We have a lot of people really interested in food. And so let's say our under 45-year-old viewers are watching most of it online. They're not turning on their televisions and watching the show. And they're going online, they're going on demand, they're going on YouTube, they're going on our site, and all the shows are podcasted on the site as well. And so we decided that we were going to launch a new digital series a couple of weeks ago. We launched it called Taste This. Ooh. And I get out and hang out with distillers and winemakers, and I made noodles and with Martin Yan, who's a famous PBS chef who has a restaurant in San Francisco called MY China. We made scissor cut noodles, and I'm not very good at it, let me just tell you. And then we paired it with cocktails. Yes. So this week's show, I'm getting out and I'm making ramen noodles. There seems to be this noodle theme, and pairing it with a local musician who is Japanese born, and he was pairing the noodles with whiskey, and I was pairing it with sparkling wine. So they're loads of fun to watch. They're short form, so about 6 minutes, and you learn a tremendous amount, and you can just binge watch them. So if you just go to kqed.org/taste this, that's my new exciting news, is that I'm getting to launch this great digital series with PBS. So
this sounds amazing. I'm writing this down, and I have to laugh because about 2 minutes ago when you said, when we're focusing on and thinking about the younger generation, and you were thinking about the people they're following, I thought you were going to say like under 25, and then you said under 45.
No, come on. Well, we're all younger, right? We're all younger.
That was awesome.
I have to admit, there's very little I watch on TV anymore. I download everything, or I watch it online, or it's true. So I shouldn't even make that distinction, because so many people are watching everything on their computer. It's all changing.
I know, and I love it. And I think that kudos, because it's shows like this that we're doing right now that people can access anywhere, anytime. And I love it. All right. So here's the fun part. I have to take us to, because I got to hear a snippet of it, but we get to hear your voice. We hear you're passionate. You're doing what you love, Leslie. And I want to know, what's the story behind the story? Tell us about, take us for the journey. What were you doing before? I know you've had some pretty cool jobs in New York, but what drove this moment now?
I love to drink.
Well, okay. That sums it up, everybody. Take your love for drinking and turn it into your business.
Well, when I speak, and you heard me speak, certainly I was speaking to an audience of people in the wine and spirits business, but it translates to whatever audience I'm speaking with about finding your passion and actually acting on it. It's true. And I do crack a joke. I say, listen, I drink for a living, so you can do anything you want. Trust me. Somebody's paid me to drink.
I love it.
and it really was that simple, though. I have to admit, in terms of the epiphany, the moment where you say, oh, and I was lucky because I had that moment when I was younger, and I had time time and guts to be able to say, wow, I have nothing to lose. If this is something I'm passionate about, let me go try to figure it out. And really that's what it was. When I graduated, I grew up in Chicago, and was pretty set that I was going to go to law school and have this big legal career and maybe enter politics. My mind has changed now, trust me. And that's what I graduated from school in St. Louis at Washington University in St. Louis, and then I was moving out to California to go to law school. And I had, I guess, my first moment of realizing that you can choose your destiny when I said, I had a moment of panic going, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't think I want to be a lawyer. I don't think I want to go to law school. And so I was able to breathe, take some time to figure out, okay, if that's not really what I want to do right now, and I could go back and go to law school, what do I really want to do as, a college graduate, a few years out of college. And I started, I'd always had a theater background and been involved in, debate club and speaking and all of that. And I went and I went to American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. I pursued some work in television and on camera and on stage, and realized that was really not my destiny either, to be in front of the camera was very comfortable space for me, but to wait around for somebody to give me a job was not what was in the cards. So I started producing and really, again, just jumping off saying, this is something I'm going to try because I want to learn. And at that same time, I was getting into wine. I was living in the Bay Area, where the epicenter of the wine world here, of course, in California and around the world. And I just started learning as somebody who loved it. I took as many courses as I could. I volunteered to go work harvest at wineries. I went to as many tastings as I could. And I just really fell in love with it as a passionate consumer. And then I did have an epiphany, a moment where I just looked at myself and I said, wow, how do I get to do this? How do I get to be in the wine world? And now, 18 plus years later, people it's quite trendy to be a sommelier or take wine courses but when I was learning about it I really had to hunt it down. And so, it was a risk. I said, well, I looked at myself and I said, what do I know how to do? Let me make a list of that. And what do I want to do? And then I just drew lines across, and I said, okay, I know how to produce videos. Great. So let me try to produce some videos for some wine companies. I know how to do this. I have this skill set. Let me try to translate that to something I want to do in the wine and spirits and food world. And so I was able to slowly transition all my skill set to be completely working in the wine business. And I've been able to make a living ever since as a wine communicator, a wine author, a consultant. And it really was having the guts to say, I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump all in.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go. What do I have? What do I have to lose? Nothing. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to try. And so that was my journey, and it's certainly been a journey ever since. I'll have to admit. I mean, it's a never-ending journey. When you're in the wine world, you get to, as with anything, you challenge yourself, you learn, you grow, and that's the beauty of it. I'm always learning.
I love this. And you know what? I don't think I realized till right now that it's been 18 years. I remember you sharing, taking that leap. And, I don't think you and I ever got to have that conversation, but we have a common denominator. I thought I was going to be an attorney. I went to college to do that. And after my sophomore year, I called my father and said, I hate this. I don't want to be here. And I want to go travel the world and be a cruise director. And he's like, finish the degree, just figure something out. But what I love is that, you didn't let fear step in the way. And of course, I think a lot of people listening, and I'm sure people that have gotten to hear you and experience you over the years, so many people have that like burning desire or dream. And I want people to know it's never too late to dream, right? It's never too late. And when I think about you took it, I could picture you drawing that picture when you said like a grid, what can I do? What am I skilled at? And what do I want to do? And then finding that intersection. And now let's talk real. What were the toughest moments in that journey? I mean, was there ever a moment that you were like, I'm going to throw the towel in. I just can't do this. Was there ever any of that? Was there any challenges you faced?
Oh, sure. Of course. I mean, I think, when you're working for yourself, I've worked for the New York Times Company. I've worked for Microsoft. I've worked for some large companies creating content about wine and developing new projects. But a lot of my career, I have worked for myself, and I still have my own company. And so, yes, there's always that fear of what's next. How am I gonna do this? And what I've found is when we were on stage together at that event, I did talk a lot about fear because I think that's what holds people back. And you never get rid of fear. It's something that you have to embrace, right? You're always going to be afraid of something. But if you look at it as a challenge, as opposed to fear that's going to make you fall down, as opposed to fear that just gives you butterflies in your stomach and challenges you. There are a couple different kinds of fear. There is that fear of, oh my goodness, it's a life-threatening sort of situation, or there's the fear of, I'm just afraid that I might fail. Mm-hmm. And if it's afraid I might fail, I call that the butterfly fear, because it gives you butterflies in your stomach. And guess what? That's the best kind of fear, because it challenges you. Mm-hmm. It makes you grow. And if you're feeling too complacent, it's the time that you need to go find some butterfly fear. You need to do something challenging.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Or you won't grow. You know, so when people say, "Oh, but I'm afraid, I can't do this," I said, embrace your fear. Don't figure out where your net is, right? If your net, if you don't have a whole lot to lose, let's say you don't have kids involved or things, you have a little bit more ability to be flexible in terms of switching jobs or doing something like that, then maybe your catch net is very low. If I fall a little further, that's okay, because I'll eventually get caught. If your net has to be up close to where you're going to jump off from, that's okay too. So you can take smaller steps in order to make some changes in your life. And I think that you just have to look at where you're at, but don't ever be afraid to take that step off the abyss. And just know where your net is.
I love the know where your net is, because I think everybody, that's relative to your current place in this, right? Wherever you are. And yet what I love too, Leslie, is the butterflies. Think about it. When we coach people on being able to present and be on stage, one of the greatest things is having that little bit of butterflies. That's what gives you the jolt. That's what gives you the energy. It's kind of a good, little nervous energy. And metaphorically, what you just said, that's the good fear. And we can either run away from it, run around it, or we can go through it. And let's face it, whenever we've been faced with that, I don't know. I think both of us live in that space, but sometimes it seems so overwhelming. But when you do get through it, man, it's like an epiphany in front of you. It's like an abyss. You're like, wow, I almost prevented myself from doing that because I was so afraid of the outcome. Right?
That's right. It's like running a marathon, or I've never run a marathon, but I've run a half marathon. I'm still too afraid to run a marathon. I did run a half marathon, and the feeling of accomplishment is so great. When you're done with something like that, even though you're afraid to do it, it's invigorating. And I think that fear can have that wonderful double edge, right? You can be afraid, but then on the flip side, once you're through it, it's so invigorating and almost joyous that you've accomplished that.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's so cool because you have had an amazing eclectic background experience, right? Like, you're brilliant. You could have gone on to do one thing. You chose to do something that followed your passion. There is a story, though, my friend, that you shared on stage. Look at me. I'm actually thinking about it and I'm laughing already. And all I'm going to say is there was a time in your life when you were a model. Will you tell that story? I love
because
that
we
story.
do have something in common, don't we?
We do, and we didn't even know that till after that either. This is awesome.
After that either. Well, it was that moment I was telling you about earlier when I'd kind of gotten out of college and I was figuring out, okay, I don't want to be a lawyer. What do I want to do? And I had been on stage and doing things in front of the camera, but I was at an event and a woman shook my hand and said, "Wow, you have really," and I was never a model or, I'm tall, I'm tall and but it was never something I did. But she looked at me, she said, "You have the most beautiful hands. Have you ever thought about being a hand model?" And I said, "Wow, no, I never have. But do they pay my whole being? Do I get to I get paid for the whole thing, right?" And so I ended up being a hand model for quite a few years, and I poked the Pillsbury Doughboy. I was
you were the one.
I was one of the ones. Yes, I was the one back before they had all the nice digital things that you could do now. We actually had a body, a little tiny, maybe 4-inch body of the doughboy that was headless, and they would mold him and shape him. And then it was stop frame animation. And then they would open up a case of 50 different heads, and each one had a little different expression. You can see the doughboy right now, like his little face going, "Ooh,"
Yes.
And so they would animate with the different heads on it. So yes, I joked with my friends. Yes, being a hand model is could be quite an interesting job. So I was. If you ever saw that Seinfeld episode with George Costanza when he did some hand modeling and he wore oven mitts around,
Yes, totally.
And it was true. I would wear the gloves all the time I'd wear the gloves and my hands look awfully beautiful at that time. Not anymore, but they did. So yes, I did. I was a hand model.
I love that. And I love and remember the whole audience went wild when you were like, yes, I was the Pillsbury dough. Like I was the one poking. And I mean, okay, now we're dating ourselves, right?
Yeah, we're dating ourselves, right?
I love that. Oh.
Yes, it was a very, it's like the yellow brick road, right? It has all these twists and turns as you're on your way to Oz. So you never know where it's going to take you really. But if you have an idea of where you want to go, that's the key.
Well, you know what I think right now, you just said something very profound. And I think if everybody listening could just take this away, as a huge wisdom, is if you're open to what the world has in store for you, right? It's like the road, right? The yellow brick road. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't let a roadblock get in the way of preventing you from stepping into something that could be part of this whole, it's like our life is like a beautiful piece of artwork on a canvas. And you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. But if we limit ourselves by living in such a narrow with blinders on, we miss so much of life. And I feel like you are like a bouquet. I mean, I love this about you, Leslie. From the moment I saw you and experienced you and then got time with you alone afterwards, I'm like, it's like you refresh us that life is beautiful and it's worth living and doing what you love. I mean, you're a mother. I mean, it's not like you're just running around drinking. I mean, you are raising children too. No.
That's exactly right. I've got 2 kids and, just like everybody who's a working mom, you're juggling everything. And, mine just has to, I include, my job has a lot of travel in it, as many people's job does. So mine is the places I usually get to go to are quite fun, Chile and Argentina and Europe and anywhere there's wine, I get to go and enjoy. So I get to do some pretty astounding things. But I think, in the end, it always is about getting up every day and making sure that you're, enjoying life to the fullest. It sounds trite, and people say it a lot, but you've got to live that way. Otherwise you regret it. And I think, a story that is part of me, and I told when I was on stage at our event, was that my sister passed away a couple of years ago at a young age from cancer. Mm-hmm. And she was very funny, very passionate woman and had a great job and a great career. From the outside in, people looking would say, oh, she was very successful. And as you're spending time with people, as they're in their last phases of life, you get to learn a lot. And I spent a lot of time with her. And when she, was close to the end, she was again still funny and laughing, and I said, Lind, what would you have done differently? Would you have done anything differently? If you had to do it all over again? And she said she thought about it for a while, and again, coming from a woman who experienced success and friendship and relationships and had a very full life, she said, honestly, Leslie, I would have had more fun like you. Oh. I would have had more fun. I would have gotten up and, for a number of years, she hated her job and she was always threatening to change things. And yet she kind of stuck it out. And so there was a part of her that she didn't let herself follow her passion. She didn't let herself, because she got trapped by quote unquote, success. Mm-hmm. And so, and she was a funny and fabulous person, but that didn't translate always to having fun and enjoying every day. And so I think that what you learn from that is there is a balance. We all have to, make a living and create a life, but don't ever let that Tinkerbell get away, Mm-hmm. Always try to capture it and have a great, find a way to have great times as much as you can, because otherwise it goes away so fast.
And, I totally remember that moment when you were sharing that with us. And it's bringing me to something I read recently and you'll love this. Joy is not dependent on circumstances. joy is a choice, right? And we create the joy in our life. And when you had that profound moment with your sister, do you feel that has it shifted anything, Leslie? I mean, obviously she's looking at you, you're the one that was living a life and in everybody's eyes, truly doing what you're passionate about. But did you find that you even made other shifts or changes just to make sure something every day? I mean, what did you take from that for yourself?
Well, I took that whenever you do encounter that fear, and again, everybody still encounters it all the time. I do all the time. Is that turn it around and say that means I'm alive. That means I get a chance to go out today and conquer that fear, or grow, or do something. It means I'm alive, and so that that's what I took away from it. To be honest with you. And I think about her every day. So she's always there, as people I know who have lost loved ones in their life. You have to take them with you every day and live in their honor as well. And for her, saying, I can just see the angel on my shoulder going, let's have some fun today. Let's have a good time today. Let's learn, let's grow, let's do some amazing things, but let's have some fun too.
Oh, I love that. And I mean, what a beautiful way to wrap this up, because you've had so many great experiences. You haven't waited for the world to hand it to you. You've gone out to create it. And I just want to pause, because a lot of people listening are parents as well, like you and I, right? And sometimes we do things in the reverse, right? I mean, I think that with all great intention, we think we're doing the right thing to provide for our families by keeping a very secure life. And I'm not saying everybody, when you listen to this, go quit your job, but I am saying that so much of the way we choose to live our life permeates into how we are setting an example for our children we're raising. And I know with my kids being older now and what they're sharing with me, and just modeling that you can go after your dreams. And I know you've experienced that with your kids. It doesn't mean like throw out, just quit the job, but it does mean think about everything we do, we tend to do with others that we love in mind. And so you're really doing them a disservice by not showing them what it's like to go after your dreams too. Wouldn't you agree?
Exactly. And that's, my daughter's in college, and I think she's lived that and seen that and believes that herself. She loves creative things. She's an artist. And I've always encouraged her to do that. And again, if she graduated like you did, like I did, and with one sort of, I've got a marketing degree, therefore I have to do this. No, you have to get out and make your way in the world, but you can also follow your passion. It is something that is absolutely doable. It's not one of those, grab in the air and say, oh, sure, I could, be a wine expert or do whatever. I can't even tell you how many people come up to me on a daily basis and say, oh, God, what I would do for your job. I would love to trade jobs with you. What I would do for your job. And I always say, yeah, absolutely. You're a CEO of a company. I'll trade with you for a few days. I'll take your money for a few days. You take my job, and then we'll trade back.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all up to you. It really is. You have to make the decisions of what's going to make you happy.
It's so true. And we can't wait for the world to do that. But I would love to wrap this up. And I didn't give you any time to think about this. So top of mind, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self, beautiful lady?
I would say always believe in yourself. Always know that the decisions you make are right. Sometimes you can learn from them and grow from them. But that doesn't mean that they were wrong. It means that it just took you down a path that eventually leads you to where you are. So trust yourself and know that what you're doing is right.
I love that. And, just listening to you, I feel like we're just sitting on a couch right now, having coffee or wine, right? Like,
wine.
It's like, I know, it's like wine, of course.
It's close enough.
Well, we're on the Pacific Coast right now. So both of us are right around, right? It's early afternoon. But, this is who you are. And like for anybody listening, and I want you to share with everybody how to learn more about you. Leslie is, she's traveling the world, but she's just as real and authentic on stage as she is right now, just listening to her on this show, because it's what I love about you, Leslie. You just show up. You are who you are. You make us laugh. You make us cry. You make us realize that anything's possible. And so how can anyone reach out and find out more about you, your show you're so excited about you're doing? Tell us everything.
Well, everything is at my website, lesliesbrocco.com, and that's Leslie, S as in Sam, B as in boy, ROCCO.com. I married an Italian, and so I joked with him. I said, we need to buy a vowel in there. Your relatives dropped it off on the boat over from Italy or something, because we've got 3 consonants mashed together. So I needed to buy an A, but that never happened. So
I love it. See?
It's Sbrocco. It's SBROCCO. And I've got links to all my shows. I've got links to when I'm going to be on the Today Show. You can sign up for my newsletter there, learn all about wine, all about spirits, all about food, and following your passion. So I've got a new book coming out that'll be out next year called 100 Days, 100 Drinks, Dishes, and Destinations. And so sign up and we'll keep you posted when that comes out.
And another book that I'm so excited about, Drinking for a Living, How One Woman Created Her Dream Job, and So Can You.
That's right. And that's about, I'm working on that right now. That's about a lot of what we've been talking about, the pathway to finding what makes you happy.
Oh, I love it. Well, I can tell you what'll make me happy is one of these days when you're going to be back over in New Zealand for the Pinot Noir event, or you're going to be on the cruise lines, you will let Holly know, and I will find a way to come with you, and we will.
That's a deal. I need an assistant sommelier with me.
Yeah, see, and I will learn quickly. I can play that role for you, my dear. Well, thank you, Leslie. Thank you. It was a joy having you, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you.
I know. You too, Holly. Thank you very much. I'm raising a glass of champagne in your honor right now.
Oh, I love it. I love this. Oh, here we go. Clink, clink, toast, toast, right?
Cheers.
I love it.
Take
Cheers.
care. Talk soon.
Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.